Welcome back to the Wrong Advice Podcast. I'm your host, John Picciuto, and I'm very excited to have the one and only Nikki Marie on with us today. Nikki is an incredibly talented concert photographer and someone I'm super happy to call my friend. And Nikki, how you doing today?
I'm good. Just tired. It's a dreary Saturday here.
Yeah, I hear that. At least it's not dumping snow out right now, so it's hard to complain.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take rain over snow. I'm not gonna be.
Yeah, well, considering what it's doing the rest of the country, it's a nice little reprieve for us.
Glad I'm not traveling anywhere anytime soon because it seems kind of chaotic and everybody's flights are getting canceled. So I'm gonna stay
I
indoors for a
know.
little bit.
Nice. Can you give a quick introduction to the listeners who you are?
Sure. My name is Nikki Marie. I run Nikki Marie Media on all my social media platforms. I'm a concert photographer and portrait photographer, and I tour with bands sometimes.
So you're basically living my dream, the thing that I want to do most in the world, to a level that, I mean, listen, this is how we became friends on the internet. I started following you
Yes.
because you posted just one of the fucking coolest Harry Styles photos I've ever seen.
Thank you,
It was
thank
sparkly
you.
and twilighty and just magnificent. And I was like,
You.
holy shit, this girl is amazing. And then we
I
just became
actually
internet
do.
friends.
Yeah,
Oh, no
thank you
problem.
so much.
How did you get started taking music photos? What was like the process like to become, Nikki Marie, who is now followed by tens of thousands of people and shot some of the biggest bands and artists on earth?
Well, I'll tell you, it was a long process. I started when I was 15. I was always really into photography. That was like always like kind of my thing. I'm like an all-around artist. I do illustrations and stuff, but when I got into high school, I kind of focused on photography a little bit more. And then I always love music. Music is like my life. I cannot play any instruments. I cannot sing, but music was like ultimately so important to me because it inspired like all of my work and stuff. So at the time when I was just doing like portraits and stuff, like I would take inspiration from lyrics to like create different like photos and stuff. So basically it stemmed from that. And then I went to my first like local concert, I'm gonna say. And I brought my camera and I took photos for a band called After Midnight Project. And I was about 15, 16, and they loved the pictures, which I was like genuinely surprised because like looking back, they are crap. They're crap.
Yeah.
But the guy, the lead singer, Jason Evigan, nicest guy ever. Um, and he was like, "Are you going to be at Warped Tour? We'll be at Warped Tour. Bring your camera." So I was like, "Okay, great." So went to Warped Tour that year. Met up with him at his tent, and he's like, "Hey, come with me." And he got me a press pass, and he said, "You're shooting our set today." So like I'm a 16-year-old. I've literally never done that. I've only ever watched it be done. So I was freaking out. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I hope I don't like fuck this up." Because I only had like a little point and shoot. It wasn't even like it was a pretty decent point and shoot at the time. I mean, it was a Nikon. It was like a Nikon like ultra zoom lens one. It's like a kind of like a bridge camera, but not really.
Hmm.
And yeah, I photographed their set. He had me go everywhere. I was on the stage. I mean, this was like crazy to me because like I had never dreamt of
You're so
that.
young. Yeah.
And yeah, it was insane. I was definitely the youngest one in the pit. I'll give myself that. And I just got like these incredible photos, and I was just like obsessed. Like
Immediately
I knew I
hooked.
had to, like when you get in that spot and you're just kind of like, oh shit, I want to do this forever. Like and that's big for me because as someone with ADHD, like I go off in different directions a lot, but like that was like one of my steadiest. Like, no, I need to be here. I need to be in the
Yeah.
pit. So, yeah, so I pretty much just took off from there. I got under a publication as an intern, and I learned how to request shows. I learned like who to email, how to do there's like a specific layout, how to ask for press passes. And
Hmm.
yeah, I just kind of continue on from there. And then, I was very low key for a while, but I did manage to bring my camera into a Harry Styles concert in 2018. Oh, and a One Direction concert. because back then and they didn't really care. They weren't looking for people with DSLR cameras. They didn't say anything to me. So I just brought my camera into those couple of shows. And
And where were you
yeah, I got
sitting?
photos. So for One Direction, I was on the catwalk a little bit further back,
Oh.
but I had a big ones with me, and it was in Ohio. It was a stadium. No one said anything to me at the time. This is just so it was like pure luck, honestly. And I managed to take some photos there, and then back then though, it was a little bit different with social media. There wasn't like TikTok or anything. So even though I posted them, like nobody, Twitter fandom was like not a thing in 2015 and stuff. So it was just like it was a
Yeah.
different feeling. And I got shots at Harry Styles' 2018 show in DC. So over pandemic, when Harry blew up on TikTok, rest in peace. Gatekeeping him was no longer a thing. Um, I posted them on as like a TikTok, and it blew up. And then my Twitter blew up, and then my Instagram blew up, and then everything else blew up. And then I was like, oh, that's nice. People like my stuff. And then,
Yeah.
yeah. And so from there on, I was able to just kind of like push a little bit more. People were a little bit paying attention a little bit more. So it did take a while. It took a while. I'm not gonna lie. I've been at
Isn't
this
that
game
like,
for like 15 years, and it's just
damn, man,
starting to happen for me.
that's amazing. I say that a lot on my podcast because I'm only 3 years into my career as a photographer,
Yeah,
and like where I am today versus where I was 3 years ago, it's a fucking joke. Like I'm like leaps and bounds doing shit so much cooler than I ever thought would be possible.
right,
But then I
right.
also have to like keep reminding myself I've been doing this for 3 years. Like, yeah, no shit, I haven't shot the cover of a fucking Vogue or something. I've been doing it for
Yeah,
5 minutes.
I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely a hard business. Um, it's definitely one of those things where it's like sometimes you have to accept defeat. And during the pandemic, when we didn't have any live shows, I was very lost because I had pretty much just like based my photography on live music. And like, that's great. But, I had to take myself back to my roots, and I did portrait photography, and I was kind of doing some theme photography. And I learned a little bit deeper into my Photoshop and just kind of refreshed myself. Um,
Hmm.
and by doing so, like, I noticed that, like, I also was able to build up an audience with that. And, like, I was able to be like, okay, listen, like, different approach time. Like, it's obviously, like, it's going to be like my push in my career is going to be very social media based. Um, and it's just going to have to be put out there.
Yeah.
Instead of me just like emailing, DMing, like manager stuff like that. And like sometimes it works. I mean, not gonna lie, like I'm so blessed to have the following I have on my Instagram because it gets me a lot of traction with different managers, different artists. Um, so it just kind of looks more serious. And it
Yeah.
sucks because it's so,
Yeah.
listen, just it's a horrible feeling because there are so many talented people out there like you are that just
Oh,
don't
thank
have
you.
that, like, of course. And there's like no traction, and it sucks because, that's a kind of it's a really good push sometimes. And it definitely helped me personally. Um,
Hmm.
so I was really happy about that. But,
It's one of those
yeah,
things. It's one of those things where it's like the duality of it makes me laugh. Like, there's no question that if there was like 50,000 people next to my Instagram name, it would
yeah,
probably afford me some better opportunities from a photography
right,
perspective. But then I
right.
also think, like, well, are they hiring me because I'm good, or are they hiring me because of the number attached to my
Right.
name?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't think it's that for like music photography that much, because like it's not a brand. They're not capitalizing over their audience because the artists already have the
Right.
audience. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think
It's
like
such a weird, yeah.
it is
It's
so
a
weird.
weird process. It's a weird
Yeah.
process. I mean, like I said, I've been doing this 15 years, and I had people just like, "Hey, you're really great. You're super talented. I want to help you out. I want to do this, blah, blah, blah." And like it was a continuous thing. But like
Hmm.
nobody pushed like nobody continued on with it. So they would offer me these like being like, "Oh my God, you're so talented, blah blah. You should definitely be doing this." And like, "How are you not hired yet?" But it was like nobody kind of, kept the ball
Made it
rolling, I
happen.
should say.
Yeah.
Um, so it's always like it's so crappy. I mean, it's a shitty feeling because there are so many people that I see on like Twitter and everything, and I'm like, "Oh my God, like they're so talented. Like, how do you not have more of like a traction, like more like traffic on your site and stuff?" Like, it's just it sucks. It
Yeah.
does.
It's a double-edged sword. I like social media because for one, it gets me introduced to amazing other artists like yourself and other friends that I've made on the internet over the last few years, which is
Yeah.
great. And then it is also like this huge source of resentment and anxiety when it's like, well, this
Yeah.
fucking thing I did only got 10 likes, and this thing, it's like when you're placating to an algorithm, it can be frustrating. But at the
It
end of the
is.
day, it's the work that matters. And from a music photography perspective, there's not many people out there that I think rival your sense of artistry with music. Um,
You.
it's very easy to be in a pit and take a photo, right? And
Yeah.
because of who the subject is, it's a liked thing, right? Like when you
Right.
have immediate access to someone like Harry Styles and or
I wish.
insert ABC,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, right? Like
That is
at the
so
end of,
nice.
yeah,
Yeah,
like I
you're
mean,
right.
you can someone with zero followers can get a traction on something like that. And I think what you've been able to do is take those experiences and opportunities and build an artistic profile of what's going on, and it goes beyond snapping someone singing into a microphone. And I'm just
Right.
curious like how over time, 15 years, you've gone about developing your sense of artistry and your style when it comes to concert photography.
So honestly, it took me a bit. It took me a bit. I feel like I started off a little chaotic. I was a different sense of how I was photographing. I was photographing like pop punk bands, and it was like, Warped Tour, and it has to kind of do with like the environment for me. So when it comes to that type of stuff, like it was it was just like minimalist, like it was pretty much like a contrast. It wasn't like a I'm trying to figure out a good word for this. It was like a simple kind of edit. So I wasn't really like looking into creating too much like Photoshop wise and everything. It was just me, camera, like contrast, black, white, all the fun stuff. Um, During the pandemic, I got into re-editing photos that I had. And I was like, okay, how can I make this better? Like I was just getting really discouraged because I'm seeing all these like newer, sorry, my cat. I'm seeing all these like newer photographers coming out with these like different styles they had going on, and I was like, oh, like these are cool. Like I wish I knew how to do this. Like if I knew how to do this, maybe I would be hired more. Maybe it would stand out more in my work. So I took a couple of like photos I've seen, and I kind of like tried to like recreate that look in my own way and build from there. But it definitely gave me a kick in the ass. I'm gonna say that, because it was one of those things where you had to really like I had to flip my style. Like I had to, I sit at my computer and I edit like for like hours, but this was
Mm-hmm.
more of like you have to start putting like your own like art into it. So I definitely went in there and fooled around with settings, watched YouTube videos, watched TikToks. Um, and yeah, I kind of just fell into place in there. I just kind of fool around. I don't have like a really like base basis. Like when I go into a photo, it's kind of just however I'm feeling and stuff. So I'm like, oh, okay, like I feel like the lights on this, I could like exaggerate, and like this is a photo that the lighting on it is kind of shit. So I'm gonna throw on my grain and make it seem like it was supposed to be like a wild
Yeah.
shot, you know what I mean? So it's definitely one of those things, and it has to do with how the photo looks. But when it comes to me shooting in like a pit, I'm not gonna lie, like it's just a lot easier when I'm in the photo pit because I could manipulate the photos a little bit more with like my actual camera. Like I'll have my
Mm-hmm.
like filters on. Like I'll throw on like my, my Starburst filters, my dream filters. And it's just a little bit easier because then when I go into Photoshop, I could just throw some presets and mess around with colors and it comes out fucking sick. But when it
Yeah.
comes to my point and shoot camera, those are just raw photos. Those are just raw pictures and it's just like, all right, how can we make this picture bold as hell? Okay, like you have to really think of like what's going to draw the person into your picture, your photo, that they're going to want to click on it, like it, share it. So it's definitely a different.
So I shot Destroy Lonely on Monday at the Wellmont in Montclair, New Jersey.
Okay.
First of all, I was floored by how many like 14 to 17-year-olds there were at the show. It was insane. Like,
Really? That's
dude, it was
crazy.
madness. Like,
You have to understand, like when you look at like now when we look at those like artists, like the fan base is so young. Like when
yeah,
I rolled up to my first like all-time low show and like forever ago, like it was like one of my first like shows since them being back and stuff, and it was at Pier 17, and it was just so many kids. And I was
yeah.
like, I'm the oldest one here. What the what
I literally,
happened?
I said that to the security guard. So the general manager before the show even went on had to like
Yeah,
get on the microphone and tell these kids like, "Yo, you guys are being insane, and if you don't relax, we're gonna pull the show." Like it became a
that's
safety
so
concern.
scary. What the hell?
They wouldn't even they wouldn't even let us shoot in the pit because they were afraid that the front barrier was
Oh,
gonna like get knocked over and kill us. It was
oh my
crazy.
God,
I've never
I
experienced
would
that
have
in my
been
life.
mad. I would have been pissed.
I was
Oh, I
pretty
would have been
disappointed. It happens. Like I'm not that mad about it. Like I ended up getting a couple good shots, but like I don't even bring my 70 to 200 because I was, I had planned on just being in the pit. So I had my
I keep my 28 to 200 on me 100%. I have
oh,
learned way too many times when they're like, it's happened to me at 5 seconds of summer, and it happened to me at Big Time Rush. I was shooting Big Time Rush at MSG, and it said in the email front of house. I get
mhm.
there, there's like three other photographers. They hand us our passes, and they're like, okay, so you're going to be shooting from soundboard. One of the
Oh,
photographers that was with me had a 30 millimeter. Do you know how
oh
far
my.
the stage is? They didn't have
Yeah,
a
a
catwalk.
mile. Yeah.
And they didn't have
Yeah.
a catwalk. And I was just like, oh no, this poor girl. Like my
Yeah.
pictures of 200 millimeters, they were this big. I can't even imagine for her. My heart like broke
Yeah.
for her. So I don't
Yeah.
know how you didn't go with that. You're
I like
200, like that thing's attached to my camera. Dang
you know what
it.
it is? I just like I'm so familiar with the venue. I've shot there a million times and I know
Right,
from the pit like what I need. I just need my 28 to
right,
70. I bring in 85 and I shoot film with the 85 and dude, I know this is completely irrational. I think I may just want to shoot concert photos on film from now on. Like one of my favorite photos I took was like
really.
yeah, it's so bad and slow. And, I took 3 times 36, whatever, like 100 and some photos. And I got like six good ones, which is terrible, obviously.
I mean,
But
yes, but no. Like, if you could, if listen, that's sometimes that's all you need. I mean,
I
personally,
know.
I
Yeah,
shoot 3,500 photos, and I use
I
maybe a
know.
hundred of them, maybe.
And like that's the thing that I've been trying to like really drill into my process because like my editing flow I've gotten to a point like you where I've created my own presets and I know like if I'm shooting a fashion editorial shoot like this is the preset that I want to use and then I'll manipulate the photo
Right.
accordingly.
Yeah.
If I'm shooting a concert this is what I want to do. Like I've built that out for myself to just cut down on
Right.
the editing workflow and I kind of want to figure out a process to do that with my shooting but I
Right.
haven't figured that out yet. Like,
It's hard.
yeah, yeah, no, it
It's
really
hard.
is.
It's hard
Yeah.
because every band is different. Every artist is different. I tried to create like a what is that? I tried to create that. I mean, for Harry, I created that because that was easy. Like, so
Yeah.
I he's got the 360 stage, and the first like 10 of his residency shows, my ass was like cardio around the whole place. So I would come out with like 4,000 photos, which
Oh
isn't
shit.
bad, but it's bad because now I have to put these photos up and I want them to go up fast for fans. I don't put it on Instagram till the next day, but that's a lot of photos I now have to go over. And like, I have a job. So like, now I'm sitting there at like 4 in the morning and I've only gotten through like maybe 2,000 of them. Um, so I kind of took a step back from doing that and I figured out a better way to do it. So now when he's not near me, like I don't chase him. So when he's on the other side, he's on the other side. That's it. When I'm in the front, I stick around the front of like, I just go on different sides of his front catwalk and then that's it.
Hmm.
I don't chase him to the back anymore. I used to do it. It's not worth it anymore. And now I'm doing better. Like I have like my
I also think that's
3,000,
you've
but like
you also, I
3,000 photos.
think it also makes for a good photo because there was a couple photos where I'm thinking off the top of my head, his back was turned to you and he was kind of like pointing up,
Yeah.
sort of. And I think
Yes.
those are
Yeah.
cool. Those are cool. And that's what I like about your photography because it's not like the cliche, singer grabbing the microphone, doing like
Oh, yeah.
there's only so
Yeah.
many angles you can get in the pit, right? And I think when you take
Yeah.
that approach that you took, you get these alternate angles, alternate kind of like viewpoints that make for beautiful photographs.
Thank you. I know I
No, you're
try
welcome.
hard not to repeat with him because he does, he does have like a routine. So
Hmm.
so it makes for me being able to catch like what I need because like I'll know his where he's gonna
His
walk.
routine.
Like I can,
Yeah.
he's predictable to me now. So it's a little bit easier for me to like gauge what he's gonna be doing next. So like I'll put my camera down during like when he's on the other side and there's two sides. It's the little freak side and Matilda side. I start off on what I call the little freak side. So when I'm standing here and he's over there in the corner, I pull my camera down. I don't, it's just, it doesn't, or if he's doing guitar songs, I know when he's gonna like pull some little dancey move and when he's gonna stand there at the mic. So like I pull my
Hmm.
camera down. So like I'm teaching myself that I don't have to, like I can have trigger syndrome, which is like the, but I don't have to like,
I like that.
I don't
I've
have to
never
do
heard
it when
that.
he's standing there. Oh yeah, I have trigger finger syndrome. It's so bad, bro.
I
It's so
like
bad.
that. I've never heard
But
that. But
yeah, no, that's like a thing. Like I'm terrible. Like if I have to get my shot. I have to get my shot. I don't care. Like if I come home and there's like 40,000 photos, because sometimes I'm just like I need to have make sure I got it. When he's spitting, when he's
yeah,
doing his little, I have to
I
get
mean,
it.
listen,
So
as a friend and a fan of your work, it's really cool because every time you shoot a show, I'm in awe of what you're able to produce, and
thank
it
you.
comes off as if there's a lot of care and time put into your work, which is nice. I
Oh,
think
thank
it's different
you.
from a lot of photographers. Um,
Oh,
I also like that you're very conscious about the fact that you've built a following on these social media platforms, but it's not like what defines you as an artist, which I think is personally really cool.
definitely not.
If you're a young kid who's listening to you on this podcast for the first time and their dream is to be a concert photographer, how does someone like that turn, their 15-year-old hobby and dream into their 15 years later getting to shoot one of the biggest artists in the world like Harry Styles? How does someone, get that sort of progress and opportunity in their career?
Honestly, just really like talk to everybody. It's a weird concept, but don't be afraid to like talk to managers, talk to their bandmates, shoot like so like okay, like shoot, if you're shooting like a band and someone like is really interactive on social media, shoot photograph them often. Um, what else? I usually do when you're starting off and it's like a hobby, probably go on like these Facebook groups, which I didn't even know about until recently. Um, there's Press Connect, there's a couple others. If you go in there and you post your photos and you ask like continuously if anybody's looking for a publication, I mean, if anybody's looking for photographers for their publication, that always helps. And get like a few publications. Don't stick to just one because sometimes they're going to have another photographer who already requested a show that you want and you want to freelance to another, definitely spread it out. And just yeah, just honestly keep just promoing and make reels, like do it's just make everything. So like don't just make an Instagram post, like do a reel. Do a TikTok of it, like a trend. So like say there's a trend going on with like I don't know, like I don't even
The
think of anything,
Pedro
but
Pascal one where they're driving in the
yeah,
car.
yeah, right. Or that one, or like the one where it's like content's too hot and it's a coffee, put your photo in there.
Yeah.
And just like make sure like you just post it up. Just post it. And then honestly, like that's when things like start like moving. And that's when I've noticed people on TikTok gain traction is when they just
Mm-hmm.
keep posting their photos in different trends. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's really about like pushing your portfolio, which I like. I used to do it, but excuse me. I used to do it, but I would do like the bare minimum and I noticed that it wasn't getting me where I wanted to be. So definitely like bring your cat like if you have point and shoot, bring it to Billie Eilish, bring it to a Drake like bring it. If you could bring it, bring it. Just you don't have to have a press pass to shoot. And that was a big thing, like going into this, because he doesn't allow outside press in
Oh,
his yeah, no one's allowed
no
to shoot
kidding.
him unless it's his photographer or there's like a couple of selected Getty photographers that he allows in the pit. But just if you have a
That's
point
kind
and
of
shoot,
surprising. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. So, but he allows point and shoots. So if you're like in the pit, you have a ticket. Even if you aren't, like I shot from lower bowl, and it's
Mm-hmm.
great. I have a couple of friends who shoot from lower bowl, and their pictures are almost as better, like better than mine are. To be honest, like some of them are like way better. Um, yeah, you just if you are passionate about the artist, see if there's a way. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
Have
like
you
a big
had
thing.
have you had any experiences like I have like a FOMO mentality that I've been able to get over in the last couple of years, and I have a like I don't know, not jealousy, but like a this person's doing something I would like to do. Why am I not doing it? Thing, whatever you can
Yes.
call that, the jealousy
Yeah.
mindset, whatever you want to call that. Do you have
The
any
envy.
experiences? Yeah, do you have any experiences with that? Like, I mean, you've shot some of the biggest artists in the
I'm gonna be
world.
a, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Yes.
Ah,
Yes, I that was a big problem for me before the I keep saying before the pandemic, but I'm telling you, like those 2 years, like they really reevaluated who I was, like as a photographer,
same.
because I was so there was nothing, there was no live music, so it was like starting all over again, and I had this second chance afterwards. So that's why I keep saying it, but when I tell you, like, I was the worst person because I just did nothing but compare myself to
Mm,
everybody. I was the first person to be like, they only started last year and they're doing better than I am. They're doing these people, they're shooting. How am I not getting the same like credentials as them? Like, and it was so toxic. And I think that
yeah.
held me back a lot because I was focused more on that than like, making my images more, artistic, branching out and stuff. It really like it put a really dark like pass on that. So I have to tell you, like, as soon as you stop worrying about other people in this business, it is such a good feeling, which is so
Hmm.
like hard to say. And it took me a couple of years. It did because I was so stuck in that mindset of like, how come I'm failing and I've been doing this longer than these people have, and everyone always tells me I'm so good, then why am I not like getting
Yeah.
the same opportunities as these other people? And it was so toxic and it was literally deteriorating me as an artist because I was just so bound on comparing like what I was doing. And so like you can't do that. It will
I,
bury you, it will destroy you mentally. Like you just yeah, it's hard.
I think that's such a crucial realization, I think, because like with anything in life, things take time, right? It takes time to
Mhm.
grow your artistry
Mhm.
and your skills. It takes time to come over negative habits and negative think. Like it takes years to get to a position in life where you're very comfortable in your own skin, where you know who you are as a photographer, as an artist, as a person. And it's relatable to hear someone who's had wild success like yourself say, yeah, I have been in a terrible place and I have
Mhm.
mentally been like, what the fuck? Why are these people doing something? I should be doing this. Like
Yeah.
that's incredibly relatable. I love that. I think when you put into context the fact that there's like no rhyme or reason why one thing breaks one way for you or another way for another person, and
Right.
understand that another person's success is by no means limiting your own. It could
Right.
sort of like free you up mentally to then be able to develop a better editing style, get better at reaching out to artists and managers. Like all of those things are all centered around being comfortable enough with yourself to be able to be like, I'm the fucking best and I'm going to go crush this.
Right. I mean, like you have to just put the confidence in yourself to be like, okay, these people, everyone's telling you you're really good. Everyone's telling you like you're gonna like go somewhere, you're gonna do something that you're like, okay, fine. Okay, now you have to push that. Like now that narrative is in your brain and you're not looking at this person's photos, you're not looking at that person and who they're covering and how come they're doing this and how come they booked a tour and you didn't. Like, no, just take what you have with your confidence and be like, this is what I can do. I think I
Mm-hmm.
would be a great asset to your team. I think I would be a valuable person on your, on your media team. Like, I want to be here. Like, this is what I want to do with my life, and here's my work. And if you like it, hopefully we can collaborate. Like, it's
Yeah.
very, it destroyed me. I was very, very toxic with that, like, terribly.
I mean,
So
I,
I
I'm
just always
I'm
want to
I'm
put that out
appreciative of the
there.
honesty. I'm very
Oh
appreciative of the
yeah, of
honesty.
course.
It's
Oh
super
my
it's
God,
super
100%.
relatable. Yeah.
It is. It's
Uh,
and that's one of the biggest things that holds people back is because they're, like, how come I'm not getting this? How come I'm not like no, like I promise you, like one of the biggest things that during the pandemic and like a year after that or so when I started talking to more of the photo community, like I would always I would still feel it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. Like I still felt it because I was breaking in and I was seeing people who were just like, you know, doing way better. And I was just like, I've been at this so long, like, what the hell? And then I had a couple of people like tell me, like, listen, like, your moment is gonna come. Like, I have,
mm-hmm.
and so many people who don't even know each other would just tell me, your moment's gonna happen. Everyone's moment is different. Your moment's gonna happen. So you just have to be ready for it. You have to be there for it. So I took that and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep going and whatever happens along the way is great. And if I get my moment, I get my moment. But I'm so unbelievably blessed and like I'm always so emotional when I realize how many people like actually like my work because I came from where it was like nobody would even like they would just be like, "Oh, your photos are really good," and then that would be it. Now I have people that are like, "You're so, you're like your work like I have it printed on my wall and I'm obsessed with like stuff like that." Like literally warms my heart because I'm just like, "Oh my God, like my art is so personal to me that you're giving me like the best compliment by saying that."
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree. If someone tells me they like my photo, it means like it's like
You
it
just called me
stops
hot.
and yeah.
You just called me attractive. Like if someone says they're like, "Oh God, you're working," you just called me attractive, and now I'm like in cloud nine right now. So
And now my
so
ego is on the fucking
yeah.
roof. Like,
I'm like,
no.
hell yeah, I'm so sexy. Thanks for liking my picture.
That's so
It is
funny.
such a confidence boost. It's so crazy.
It's weird because I have like an insane level of confidence in myself. And I've always had this like irrational belief that everything that I want in life is going to be mine. And I think in a lot of ways, that has been incredibly helpful sort of mentality, and then in other ways it could be somewhat toxic in that I may not work as hard as I need to because I just believe everything's going to work out. And I
Right.
fixed that recently, and it spent some time like grounding myself into realizing that I still need to work my ass off to get my dreams and have them come true. And
Yeah.
I fully believe I'm in the midst of like the best year of my life. Like it's been 2 months now, call
Really?
it. Yeah, I'm
That's
crushing
amazing.
this year. It's my
As you
bitch.
should. As you should.
And
But
like
yeah, as you should.
artistically, I've come to a place where I'm very comfortable in what I'm producing. And I'm curious, like as someone who's had the level of success that you've had in the industry, where do you go from here? Like what is left for you to tackle and like what are you hopeful for the next, couple years of your career?
Honestly, I would love to know if Harry Styles has ever seen my pictures. It's a clowning thing to say it. It's such a clown ass move. Um, I, so like that being said, like I'm just, it would be nice to know that he's seen it. And like, I always make the
I
joke,
mean,
like,
probably has, right? Like,
I don't know. And
realistically.
I honestly, I mean, half of me is just like, I don't care. I'm doing it mainly because I, as an artist, I love him. I always loved him, obviously. Um, but he, like, as an artist, like, he's just so, his concerts are always just so much fun. And they're always so
Hmm.
inspiring. So, like, even though I'm shooting from a point and shoot camera, as I'm shooting these pictures that other people would look at and be like, those are basic photos, like, I'm seeing it as, like, I'm gonna fucking edit the crap out of this. These are gonna look so sick when I get home. Like, I'm always so excited to just jump on the computer and edit. Um, but as it goes, like, I mean, editing wise, I always feel like I can grow, and I do. I do end up growing a lot, um, because I discover like new ways to like really bring the photo to life. And like, there's always going to be like different, um, like different presets I try. I always use like a different theme. Like, I definitely want each of my pictures to have their own like story to them. So like when you
Hmm.
see them, like you're like, oh, Nikki took that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I definitely want to have that for myself at some point where somebody looks at my pictures and like, that's a Nikki Marie photo, you know? Like, it would just be
Yeah.
such a great feeling for someone to just look at a picture and be like that without it being like Harry Styles too. Like, even if it was just like a, like a Louis Capaldi or something, and somebody goes, "Oh yeah, that's a Nikki Marie picture." You know what I mean?
I fucking love
Um,
Louis Capaldi.
I love him so much, and I will be at
He
like
seems
eight
like the
of his
most
shows.
relatable human being on earth.
Oh,
Like, just
when I tell
genuinely
you, I
relatable.
will. I recently told my friend this, and she made fun of me. But I said, if I don't marry someone like Louis Capaldi, like I failed in my life. Like I swear to
Yeah.
God, like that man is like the epitome of what I want in like a partner.
Yes.
Like he is just so chill and funny. Like never
He
fails to get me
embodies
laughing.
the
Like
must he embodies the must protect at all costs mentality that I
yes,
think, like,
yes,
yeah.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's one of those things. Like I really want to have my own style, even though I'm growing. So hopefully, like that works out. But for the next couple of years, um, maybe get on a tour for a little bit, or right now I'm training at the moment. I don't want to jinx it, but I'll say it. It's okay. I'm currently training to be a photo editor at Daily Mail. So
Sick.
maybe, yeah. So hopefully that would be nice to get offered a contract right now. That would be great.
Yeah.
Um, but when it comes down to it, I just want to be shooting shows as much as I can. I like any shows, like anything, honestly. Like I'm just so like, yeah. I just don't want to ever
Yeah.
let that go. That's like one of my things, honestly. I will never stop shooting like concerts. I don't care. I will be the oldest person. I will be the grayest little granny in the pit shooting fucking shows. And I've seen it. I've seen
I
it.
love that.
So
I love
maybe
that.
maybe a goal would be to maybe shoot for Getty because that's I always apply for them, but they're always like,
Yeah.
"Your work is super great, but we don't need your photographers right now." And I'm like,
It is tough. No, I think about that a lot because, like, there are venues that are really hard to get into, and there are publications like Getty that are really hard to get into when you're talking about proximity to, like, 10 million people, and they've got it covered. It's hard.
freaking, it's hard. And like I apply like every year, like as a joke. Like I'll like see it and I'll apply and I'll send it in.
Can't
And you know what? Like
you could just
they do
submit
want
your photos to Getty, right, and be like a
Yeah,
Getty
you
accredited?
pretty
Yeah.
much yeah, so you pretty much like send them in and they'll be like, "Oh, we'll keep you on as like a freelancer maybe." And like sometimes they do that and then sometimes they're kind of like directly looking for a photographer to put on staff. It's very weird. I had to like
Yeah.
go through a couple of processes to figure it out. But I would
Hmm.
love to work for Getty at some point as a photographer. I mean, holy shit. Like that is a
Yeah.
great like agency to
Yeah.
have as a backdrop. Like you could shoot
Yes.
anything under Getty. so, so
Have you in terms of like where you've been published, like, do you have any publications that you haven't been published with yet that are like dream situations for you in terms of like
Rolling
where?
Stone.
Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Rolling
Yeah.
Stone. I would
Yeah.
love to be on Rolling Stone.
How has one of your
So,
Harry Styles photos not yet been in Rolling Stone? That's like that's
No.
baffling to me.
Because they have a contract, I believe, with him and his Getty photographer and his
Oh,
other shoots.
okay.
It's very hard. He's one of those people that's like, so taking it back though, like, so apparently shooting, so because my next goal is to shoot Taylor Swift.
Oh,
And apparently she takes on publications. Like she's chill about it. She's not like him. I would have thought she's just as hard as Harry, but no,
yeah,
like they're
same.
mad. She's mad chill. Like she takes on like small publications. So like we trying, we trying. I swear to God, if
Taylor
I ever got a
Taylor is
if
an
I ever
avid
got a
listener
podcast
and
like this,
supporter. Taylor is an avid listener and
hey Tay
supporter of this
Tay,
podcast. She is a
hey Tay
Patreon of
Tay.
the Wrong Advice podcast. She's
Imagine
definitely
that
going
would
to
be
hear this.
so sick. But my goal,
Me and my
like
close personal friend Taylor Swift.
Tay Tay, listen, girl. We both started from the bottom. So what's up? But yeah, that's like a goal. Otherwise, MetLife is pretty chill. I could bring in my bridge camera and take it from the
Hmm.
pit. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, like I'm definitely in debt because Harry is expensive
Yeah.
and I shoot from his pit like an idiot. Sometimes I'll do lower bowl, but like, listen.
When I'm just genuinely curious, when you have the audience that you have, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming you're shooting for yourself and then allocating
Mm,
those photos to some publication, why are you
yeah.
not being credentialed for the pit? It's just it's only he's only letting in a certain number of guys for or photographers for a
So
certain number of
so
shows.
no, so you know what it is? He has this like what is that? He has this like it's just like his set media team
Hmm.
because he knows who he likes to shoot him.
Hmm.
So he's like, you know, it's kind of like the Kardashians, like they have their personal paparazzi people. He has his certain photographer. Like he'll let Getty shoot, but he'll only let like two of their photographers that he's approved shoot.
Got it.
So it's like not even like, oh, I'm gonna hire Getty for this show that I'm putting. No, it's like only these two photographers I want at
Hmm.
this specific date at this specific time. So it's and then my work is just kind of like, I mean, I classify it as fan photos at this point because I'm not professionally shooting under a publication or for the pit, and I just kind of like give them to the publications for, you know, like the purpose
Accreditation.
of, you know, yeah, exactly. And it gets me a lot. It does get me people who want to buy my prints, which are like, I assuming is like fine. I mean, I've been doing it for a couple of years and no one said anything, but um, like it's not like I'm shooting on like a professional camera. Like I could see it would be problematic if I had like my big $2,000 kit on me. Like then it's, you know, that's a problem. But like I'm shooting from a camera that's, let me see if I could find it. I could pull it up somewhere. But it's like I'm shooting from a camera that's like the size of my iPhone. Oh my God, my bed is a mess. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Where's my little camera? That's a lens. Oh, here she is. Nope, that's a light. Hang on.
I'm genuinely shocked that you're telling me that all of these photos have not been produced with like a mirrorless or like a DSLR.
This is
Get the
her.
fuck out of here.
This is the baby.
I'm too stunned to speak.
This
You're
is my
telling me
phone.
all of these unbelievable Harry photos have all been produced with this camera.
95% of them, yes.
Is
The
that the
other 5%.
ZV-1? What is that?
This is the Sony RX100.
Okay. And it is a what
This
to
also
what
put me in
zoom?
debt. This is a 2.8. This is literally this is like a $1,500 camera, which is like insane.
And
And I
what's
bought
the
it
focal
used.
length? What's the focal
The
length?
focal is only to 200, but the
200 is
f-stop is,
crazy for that fucking little
yeah,
thing. Are you kidding me?
and it's
Wow.
2.8. It's 2.8 to 4.5. And I
Wow.
really don't zoom in on him too much because I was like with this, I'm like I just want the, you know, like the, you know. But
That's crazy.
it's a really good camera. I mean, this is my savior. This is my savior. I would rent this.
Nikki, I
I
am
would rent it.
genuinely shocked. I'm
Oh, okay.
shocked. Yeah. I'm not saying
You
it's a
know what
bad
it is?
camera, but like
Oh no,
to
you know
get
what it is? It shoots raw. So
uh,
it's shooting raw is so helpful. Like even though these pictures don't come out like you
50
know,
megapixels, right?
right. I can still go in and like
Do a
edit it
lot.
that way because it's raw. So I'm like, perfect. It's kind of
Dude,
like a blank canvas for me.
I have to be honest, I have so much more respect for your work now. Like, I didn't even know that that was
You,
possible. Like, I just
yeah,
naturally assumed that you were sitting in the pit with, Sony, A7S3,
no,
A7S4, whatever. Like, I'm
no.
a
But
Canon
that is
guy,
my
so I don't.
child.
Yeah, I'm
That is my other
shocked,
child. This
dude.
is my baby,
That just
baby. This is my
that
usual
just
setup right
talks.
here.
That just
This
usually
is my
speaks
usual one.
to. Oh, there you go. Yeah,
This is my
that just
usual.
speaks. That just speaks for how incredible of an artist and a photo editor you are, because you're making gorgeous images from a fucking point and shoot camera.
Thank you.
I'm like,
Thank
I'm
you.
floored. I'm floored.
That's so nice. Thank you so much. Wow.
Dude, Rolling
Yeah.
Stone, Sasha Leka, I know you're listening to this podcast. You need to be hiring Nikki immediately. Like, look at what this girl is doing with a point and shoot
Actually,
camera.
actually follow Sasha.
Of
Praying
course
that
you do.
one day,
Everybody
like
does.
praying that one day, like something I had taken crosses their path because that would be
I
amazing.
think the
But
coolest thing about the concert photography industry, and from a photographer's perspective, is we're all genuinely like just in love with the music and the art of taking
yeah,
photos at concerts. I was lucky
yeah,
enough to have my buddy Dustin Rabin on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and he's shot like every major incredible artist that you can name over the years, and
wow,
his workbook is insane. And what's cool is there's just this camaraderie around the industry where, like, I genuinely want to see you be successful. He wants to see everyone be successful. You want to see everyone be successful. I
yeah.
think that's different than a lot of different industries when it comes to
Oh,
photography, like fashion stuff. Like, people are
yeah.
just cutthroat. They,
It's
want everyone to
extremely
fail except for
cutthroat.
themselves. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I
it's
think
pretty
it's
scary.
cool. Yeah, yeah, it's super
It's
cool
definitely
because,
one
like,
of those things. Yeah,
there's less gatekeeping in concert photography, which I think is nice, because at the end of the day, like, my big thing is, like, I want to see everyone be successful and succeed.
mm,
And, like, there's a lot less gatekeeping in this part of the business than there is in others. And I think that's cool about it. And
yeah.
yeah, it's, yeah,
I
man,
definitely
I'm
see
still
that, and like,
dumbfounded.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's some people don't see it that way, and like I love to be able to help anybody I can. Um, which is why I was so excited because I was like, when you asked me to be on the podcast, I was like, oh great, I could share this with followers and everybody because I get constant like texts and like emails and DMs, and some people are even super nice and they're like, can I intern for you? I was like, girl, I'm not even
Oh,
making money, but that's really nice of you to think that I could take you on as an intern. Like, I'm
hey,
literally not
unpaid
shooting.
intern.
Yeah, I'm literally shooting from the pit. Like, I don't even know where I'm shooting from a GA pit that I paid, X amount of money for. But honestly, it's you really have to like love music to be in this business. I mean, you
Hmm.
really have to be passionate about what you're doing, and it shows in your photos. Like, if you're just doing this for a paycheck, if you're just doing this because somebody like asked you, you could just tell. You could just
Yeah.
see in people's photos if they're just doing it for the job. Like, you really have to love what you do, and you have to love music like that, like as if you are a musician, because you may be an instrument in a photography way, in like in a
I
media
like
way.
that. I
Yeah.
like that. I think passion for music is crucial to be a successful concert photographer, because you have to, in some way, be wildly inspired by the person that you're photographing,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
that comes through in your images. That is
Yeah.
something that you can look at and feel from a photographer. Like, when I look at your
Right.
images, you can tell how much your artists that you're capturing inspire you to create these wonderful images. Like, that comes through in your photographs. And if you're not that passionate about anything that you're photographing, it's going to show. It's going to look
100%.
flat. Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
gonna look like you just did it for whatever reason and just threw on a preset and we're done. Like, if you really have like the passion and stuff behind it, like you'll notice like the difference in your photos, and you're gonna see like a different reaction to your work because people are gonna be like, wow, like this is insane, and like this is crazy. Like, how did you do this? How did you like edit this image? And like sometimes like I just go into the zone. Like I can't even give you a workflow when it comes to my Photoshop. Like my ass is like I'll be going through images and I'll just go through my Lightroom images, pull it up in Photoshop, and next second I'm playing with it for like 4 hours.
Oh my
Because
God.
there's just yeah, it's crazy. I'm a night worker, so so I'm up to like the sun will be rising at like 5 in the morning. I'm like, oh shit, I've been on the computer for 12 hours. But like it's crazy because you really have to be inspired by like what you're doing. And if you're not, like it's just there's no point. Like this is obviously isn't the business for you. You have to really just want to be able to do it. This is a
Yeah.
cutthroat business, unfortunately, and sometimes you have to really prove yourself sometimes,
What,
which,
when you look at your
you know,
work, is there any component of it where you feel like you're only as good as your most recent show? Because sometimes I look at like I'll go like a
yeah.
month or longer before I like in between shows, and I'm like, well, like, am I even really doing this if it takes that big of a gap? Like,
Yeah.
do you have that feeling at all? Like when you're looking back, like, oh, I'm only
Um,
as good as.
I mean, to be honest, like sometimes I get a little sad because like my Harry photos will blow up to 20,000 likes, and then I'll be really, really, really proud of like this photo. It's like this whole photo set I have of Kid Cudi that I shot at Gov Ball, and I edited it so well, and it looks so sick, and it has like 900 likes. And it's because sometimes it makes me sad, and I'm just kind of like, oh, all right. And then I'll sometimes feel like I'm stagnant. Like if I have to, like right now, like I haven't shot a show since like I'm gonna say like Spring, like Harry's birthday show on February 1st. So like it's been a hot second since I've been. So I feel like I'm just kind of chilling here and I'm waiting for the next one. But I mean, I still kind of pull images, and what I'll do is I'll like I find in the back of my head I'll be like, okay, what can I do with these images that I have already? And like how can I like improve them? So for instance, like because I pulled that and I was doing those like images, I did a reel, and I put the images in a reel and I was able to create that. I did another one where because I have trigger finger syndrome, I'm able to like create like a really cute stop motion. So I pull and
Oh,
I do
cool.
that. So I try not to stop working in between, and then I like try and like continuously push my portfolio, and like I'll book other things, not just like for concerts, because like my income mainly comes from like me shooting like people's like engagement parties and like birthday parties and family portraits and stuff. Like don't ever like knock doing those. Like please, like if you're in the business of it, like if you have the versatility to shoot like that, like do it. Because I
Hmm.
listen to me, I love concert photography, but it is sometimes very hard to be handed a paid gig. That's just how it is. um People will approach you, you can approach them, but a lot of times it's unpaid and it sucks. And if you want to still do it and it's unpaid, respectable. That's for publication purpose, like how I shoot for so I shoot for like 1883 magazine, and also like BLI, my radio station over here, the local radio station. And I take on like as many as I can, like unpaid wise. Like I don't care, like because I know it's going to be in a publication, and I know that I could use that for like pushing my portfolio to an artist that I want to shoot on a tour that I can be paid for. You know what I mean? So, for instance, right now I'm hoping to get on Big Time Rush's tour, because I did a trial shooting with them, and that was really great. So hopefully I can have a couple opportunities with them. That would be super awesome. But like in my meantime, like I'm booking shoots with like clients for like small wedding ceremonies, family portraits, engagement pictures, like anything along those lines. That's where the money comes in. And
Yeah.
that's where you're guaranteed a paycheck, but it funds like all of my free work.
Hmm.
So, and then sometimes you do get hit up for a band for, a paid gig, and that's a great feeling. Take
Oh
that
yeah.
feeling and run with it.
No, totally. I think what you perfectly accurately described is the hustle mentality to be a creative in
Yes.
this day and age.
Yeah.
It requires
100%.
a fuck ton of hard work, a fuck ton of
Hmm.
perseverance. You get told no 100 fucking times in a row, and
So many times. So many.
and and that's okay.
Yeah.
My last podcast, the clarity that came from realizing that every failure I've had in my life so appropriately brought me to where I am today was like
Right.
revolutionary for me. Realizing that even though I didn't succeed at something, it put me in position to either work harder, try something new, or
Right.
do something else. And
It's
that's
a kick in the
important.
ass. Every no used to deteriorate me. It used to like I used to take that shit so personal. Someone
Hmm.
said like no, I was like, fuck this. Why am I putting myself through this? This is hell. No. Now it's like someone says no to me. I'm like, okay, challenge accepted, bitch. Let's go.
Yeah.
And like I hustle my ass and I'm like, what can I be different? And like I just look at it as success is my greatest revenge. So for every no I'm gonna
Ooh.
get, I'm gonna count it as a reason to be better because that means I should be better. And so that's just like my headspace now. And honestly, it helps so much because I'm out here like, okay, well, they obviously don't think you're good enough. Show them that you are good enough and that they can't have you now. So
Yeah. Success is my greatest revenge.
that has
I am
always, yeah,
stealing the shit out of that. That
do
is
it,
great.
do it
Yeah.
because when I tell you, for every time I feel hurt, upset about something going on in my either personal life or in my photography career, and I feel deterred and like just, capped out, where I'm just like, you're not going to get any better than this. It's not going to do any, you're not going to rise any higher. I have to like just buck up and just be like, listen, bitch, get your shit together, pack it up, and get and start doing it. I use my powerful emotions that I have like towards myself, and I use it as fuel to be better. So like, it's not like I used to like just completely like shut down. Now I'm just like, okay, let's go. Like I'm looking at reels, I'm looking at TikToks, I'm looking at different photographers' new styles. How can I manipulate it and make that look better? How can I like, and I do that. And I put myself in front of my computer and I edit it. And I go back and I'll like find photos that I just looked over that I can edit, and I pull them and I fix them and I make reels out of them and stuff. So that kind of mentality is like really healthy to have. I think it's so much better to target your emotions into your creativity. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm really happy that I taught myself how to do that because I was definitely taking myself out of the equation when I would do that. And when I was like really just depressed about things, can't do it. Can't do that. Like it's just not worth it anymore. Now you have to
Yeah.
be a fighter. You got to fight for it because otherwise,
Well,
everything like nothing's handed to you. It sucks. Trust me, I get
listen,
it.
I love all of that. I mean, I think it goes without saying that the process in which you come to your artwork speaks for itself. I find your work incredibly inspiring. I find your attitude
Thank
incredibly inspiring.
you.
I'm super happy that I'm
Thank
able
you
to
so
consider
much.
you a friend. I have a very cheesy
Of
line.
course.
If you've been on my podcast, you're part of my family. Thank you so much for coming on today and spending this hour with me and talking about your incredible work. Yeah, this has just been a real treat for me, and I've really
It's been
enjoyed
an
our
honor.
conversation.
It's honestly been an honor. Thank you so much for having me on here. I think it was really great, and I hope I inspired other people to kick it in
You
the
did.
ass.
You
Gotta
definitely
hope
did.
so. Okay,
Yeah.
good. That was the
Thank
whole point.
thank you so much, Nikki. This was really
Of
great. I'm
course,
really so appreciative.
of
All right, take
course.
care.
All right, bye bye.